Hey, core reporters, welcome back to my channel. Kylie Jenner made waves when she broke down crying on this week's most recent episode of The Kardashians airing on Hulu. And she was crying because the internet has been bashing her looks since she was about 12 years old, which I do find to be rather unfortunate. I kind of feel like there's this toxic cycle where people will make fun of you for how you look naturally. Then obviously they create all these insecurities in you. You get fillers, you get Botox, you get plastic surgery, you fix these things so that they'll stop making fun of you. Then what happens? They make fun of you for getting cosmetic procedures. So it really feels like Kylie could never win with the public. And it's always been that way. I feel like the people started talking about her looks when Kendall Jenner's and her announced that they wanted to start modeling. So this was like both of them pre-plastic surgery for the two of them, pre-anything. And Kendall, she was considered the prettier sister. And so she was modeling the Sherry Hill prom dresses and everything like that. And people felt like, okay. But then when people saw Kylie, they just felt like, well, what do you mean you're modeling? You don't look like a model is what people felt like, right? And so they had no problem voicing that. And obviously, when you're so young and this is all over the internet about you, you end up with deep-seated insecurities, right? And what happens when you have deep-seated insecurities? You develop potential body dysmorphia that leaves you looking like this, basically, right? So let's get into the clip before we talk about some of my feelings about all of this. I do find it to be unfortunate, but I do have a lot to say for sure. So I'm just going to pull up the clip. Here it is on Hollywood Unlock's Instagram page where we could all watch it together. Let me make sure I've got my video.
My looks at this point, and I'm
going to restart it.
I want to know why on the internet no one says anything or think that it's okay.
Well, I think that's a general thing with our family. We're dehumanized. Like they don't think that there's any rules with us. Whereas like if you talked the same way you do about us, about any other woman, people would come to their defense all day long. But for some reason with us, it's like they don't think we have any feelings.
I went on a journey the last year, dissolving like half my lip filler. I hate even having this conversation over and over and over again because it feels like it's a waste of my breath, because I think with me, it's just never going to change, but it's just been. Kind of like so numb to people talking about my looks at this point, and I just want to know why on the internet no one says anything.
So that's just part one. Before I get into part two, does Kendall remind anybody else of Khloe Kardashian in this scene? Just something about her is reminding me so much of Khloe. Anyway, let's get to part two.
Just like, why do people think it's okay to talk about me?
Listen, I genuinely do feel bad for Kylie. I do think it's unfair the way that the internet treats her in particular, for sure. And I feel terribly for the fact that this started at a super young age for her. This started when she was like 12, 13, 14, years old and everything like that. But when, it comes down to it, the Kardashian family brand is their looks, right? And I feel like that's why people feel a lot more free to speak about them and their looks than anybody else, because this is their talent. This is their brand, right? It's their looks. It's their shape shifting. It's them creating and participating and continuing to raise the bar when it comes to the modifications that people, women particularly, are getting in order to be considered beautiful. Before this family started, messing around so harshly with fillers, Botox, and plastic surgery, we didn't have such extreme beauty standards. We did not have the wisdom teeth gang walking around, the BBL crew, right? We didn't really have like people on reality TV looking like that. Like, have you seen those clips going viral of the UK Love Island girls? Like, and I'm watching Perfect Match on Netflix. And again, like these girls are so young and their faces are just so, you know what I mean? With all this stuff that wasn't normalized before this family came along. And I feel like when you do things like this, you cause a lot of resentment. And so I feel like that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. You know, you're doing all these things, you're leading us down this path, and it's not looking good on you, right? Basically is what I feel like it was. So I think that she was the thing that caused her a lot of issues was this image of her at Paris Couture Fashion Week. Correct me if I'm wrong. This image went viral. People said, wow, she looks older than J-Lo, and J-Lo's in her 50s. And Kylie's only 26 years old, you know? And listen, again, I will say always, I feel bad for her. This started super duper young with her, but it is true that she does not look her age. I had to go online and Google Kylie's age before I shot this video, because when you look at these photos of her, she does not look like a 26-year-old. She looks like a well-kept, you know, woman in her 40s. And I find that to be rather unfortunate. And it's interesting that in this video, she talks about how she dissolved half her lip filler, and yet they look like this. It's like, well, how big were they if you dissolved half and you still got this going on? You know what I mean? It's very sad. It really, really is, you guys. It is. It's sad that she has to do this. And I feel like it's also sad some other things that have happened in her life because of her mother, who I would suggest is, you know, potentially even neglectful. For example, the fact that Kylie, as an underage girl, was dating a grown man with a child named Tyga, and her mom was perfectly okay with this. Like, I feel like this woman has been traumatized her entire life, and people feel like just because you're part of a dynasty, you're considered like, you know, an X symbol, all sorts of things. You don't have feelings and you're not going through like some deep, dark things. And I feel like, you know, with her, like, you can just tell, like, she's just got such a heavy energy that like, you know, fame and like her family's lifestyle and the family's brand has really like sucked the soul out of her. And I find that to be rather unfortunate. You know, it's sad. I really did feel for her when I saw that video. And it was nice that she had Kendall comforting her. But the gag is, if you actually watch the Kardashians, or if you are on Kardashian TikTok, like, you see so many videos from the show of how mean Kendall was to Kylie growing up. She would talk about Kylie having super large pores, lots of like back hair or some like chin hair or something like that. Like, and she would do this to Kylie in front of her friends. Like, she'd be really, really mean to her about her looks. So it's interesting that she goes from that to now being like, oh, people are so mean. How could they? Like, girl, let's start with you and how mean you were to your sister. I remember watching some of these clips and being like, damn, like, that girl is so mean. I have a sister as well, so I understand the sister relationship, but we have never like been like that with one another. You know, we've had our own, you know, tips over like me stealing her clothes mainly when we were younger, but nothing like this, you know, when you're like trying to be super mean to your sister in front of other people, you know. You know, it makes me sad that all of these things have led to Kylie doing this to herself, right? And it is true. Like, I don't think that people are specifically being mean or bullying her when they say she looks a lot older than her age. I think that Kylie, like, categorically looks much older than 26 years old. And that I do find that to be rather unfortunate. But, you know, here's the thing. When you make your only talent and your only claim to fame looks and X appeal, people are going to critique the product. It's kind of like, you know, when a brand comes out and their brand is shoes, like, people are going to critique the shoes. People are going to critique the makeup. And when you know, again, people are going to critique your looks. It sucks. It really does. But this is what happens when that is your brand, when your brand is this shallow, right? Anyway, again, I do feel bad for Kylie. I think she's a victim to this dynasty that her mom has pushed her to help carry the torch for the next generations, right? It started with the Kardashians, then it moved down to the Jenners. The Kardashians, they were at least adults when they started. Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe with the show and everything like that. But Kendall and Kylie, they were teenagers when they started with the show and when they started with the fillers and the plastic surgery. And that is not their fault. That is the fault of Kris Jenner. When you do these things that are meant for grown-ass women and men on children, well, of course, the result is going to be that they age much quicker than they should. And it is unfortunate. And I feel like at the end of the day, Kylie's biggest beef was with Kris at this point, because Kris forced her into the spotlight. And she, you know, she seemingly has some sort of a plastic surgery policy in that family. Every single one of them has been nipped and tucked to the gods. And yeah, that's rather unfortunate. But I digress. Guys, let me know what you thought about this clip. Did you empathize with Kylie's tears? Let me know why or why not in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more reality TV news, royal news, and reality TV recaps, okay? Bye.